Hello, welcome to this class on art history. Today, we will focus on a very significant and revolutionary modern art movement, Dadaism. Dada was an artistic movement which appeared during the First World War period. It began in 1916 in Zurich, Switzerland. It was a natural reaction to the atrocities of World War I and ridiculed nationalism and the so-called civilization of humankind which caused such a disastrous war. It ridiculed the history of culture. But still, a learner of art history can trace influences of earlier art movements like Cubism, Futurism, Constructivism, and Expressionism in Dadaism. Dada movement was not restricted to Zurich. It was an international movement. Dada groups were active in major cities in Europe and America, including Berlin, New York, Cologne, and Paris. During First World War, Switzerland remained a neutral nation. It attracted artists and intellectuals from all over the European continent and provided them refuge. Dada was anti-war and self-negating. It was also anti-art. Dada movement began in February 1916. It was at Cabaret Voltaire in Zurich, a nightclub owned by artist Hugo Ball. The cabaret was named after the 18th century French satirist Voltaire, whose play Candide mocked the idiocies of a society. An informal group of artists and intellectuals gathered at the club and they held readings of written works, displayed artworks, made discussions, and staged performances. In the beginning, their focus was on expressing anger over the war. Later, it attacked systems which are attached to society, including art establishment. They named the movement Dada. The word appears in different cultures with different meaning. It may mean a hobby horse, a nurse for children, tale of a sacred cow, a cube, and mother. It is also a sound an infant makes when it learns to speak. Richard Helsenbeck, a member of Dada group, claimed that he found the name by plunging a knife at random into a dictionary. Hugo Ball presented by recital the first Dada manifesto in July 14, 1916. In it, he stated, "Dada is a new tendency in art. Dada comes from the dictionary. It is terribly simple. In French, it means hobby horse. In German, it means goodbye, get off my back, be seeing you sometime. In Romanian, yes, indeed, you are right, that's it, but of course, yes, definitely, right." How does this one achieve eternal bliss? By saying Dada. How does one become famous? By saying Dada. With a noble gesture and delicate propriety, till one goes crazy, till one loses consciousness. How can one get rid of everything that smacks of journalism, worms, everything nice and right, blinkered, moralistic, Europeanized, innovated by saying Dada? Dada is the world soul. Dada is the pawn shop. Dada is the world's best lily milk soap. Some historians believe that Dada movement evolved out of a similar artistic attitude prevalent in Eastern Europe, especially in Romania. Migrant artists from Romania influenced the formation of Dadaist aesthetics. It is to be remembered that Tristan Tzara, the most active member of Dada, was from Romania. He was a poet, essayist, and performance artist. Hugo Ball, Emmy Hennings, Tristan Tzara, Jean Arp, Marcel Janko, Richard Helsenbeck, Sophie Tauber, and Hans Richter were part of the Zurich Dada movement. Marcel Janko wrote, We had lost confidence in our culture. Everything had to be demolished. We would begin again after the tabula rasa. At the Cabaret Voltaire, we begin by shocking common sense, public opinion, education, institutions, museums, good taste, in short, the whole prevailing order. Dadaists also began to spread their ideas through publications. They were able to bring out a journal, Cabaret Voltaire. It was the first publication to come out of the movement. Only a single issue of the magazine was published. The cafe was closed down in 1916. Hugo Ball presented by recital the first Dada manifesto in 1916. In it, he said, Tristan Tzara wrote a second Dada manifesto in 1918. It is considered as one of the most important Dada writings. Zurich Dadais, with Tzara at the leadership, published the Art and Literature Review, Dada, beginning in July 1917, with 5 editions from Zurich and the final 2 from Paris. By the end of the First World War, most of the Zurich Dadais returned to their home countries and some moved to the other cities. Richard Hülsenbeck, a member of Zurich Dada group, returned to Berlin in 1917. He delivered his first Dada speech in Germany in 1918 at I.B. Neumann's Gallery in Berlin. Hausmann, Hülsenbeck, George Grosz, John Herdfield, Jung, Hirsch, Walter Mehring and Bader started the club Dada and began to closely associate. The first event they organized was an evening of poetry performances and lectures against the backdrop of a retrospective of paintings by Louis Corinth at the Berlin session of 1918. Hülsenbeck recited the Dada manifesto, Grosz danced the jazz, and Hausmann shouted his manifesto, the new material in painting. The audience were shocked and went almost riotous. The Dada movement in Berlin was much more political in its approach, maybe because the artists in Berlin were very near to where the war was happening, unlike Zurich and New York. Dada Manifesto of 1918, Berlin, by Hülsenbeck stated, Expressionism wanted inwardness. It conceived of itself as a reaction against the times, while Dadaism is nothing but an expression of the times. Dada is one with the times. It is a child of the present epoch which one may curse but cannot deny. Expressionism is not spontaneous action. It is the gesture of tired people who wish to escape themselves and forget the present, the war and the misery. Artists like George Grosz had clear political standpoint and expressed it through his art. The Berlin group published periodicals such as Club Dada, Der Dada, Every Man His Own Football and Dada Almanac. In 1920, they organized the first international Dada fair. Max Ernst is attributed with the founding of Cologne branch of Dada. In Cologne, Ernst, Bargeld and Opp organized a Dada exhibition in 1920 which focused on anti-bourgeois sentiments. Cologne's early spring exhibition landed in controversy and police intervention on grounds of obscenity. The first introduction of Dada artwork to the Parisian public was at the Salon des Indépendants in 1921. Jean Crotty exhibited works associated with Dada, including a work entitled Explicative bearing the word taboo. Tzara staged his Dadaist play, The Gas Hut, also in 1921. It was again staged in 1923 as a professional production, and a group of audience under the initiative of Andrew Breton created a theatre ride. The last Dadaist drama by Tzara was Handkerchief of Clouds in 1924. In New York, Marcel Duchamp and Francis Picabia were creating Dadaist works from 1915, the year they came to America. To the people of New York, Duchamp and Picabia were not strangers when they arrived at the New York art scene. Duchamp's knew descending down the staircase and Piccabia's Procession e Zivelle were shown in 1913 at Armory Show. They, together with other European migrants Albert Gleizes, Jean Crotty, Henri Pere-Roger, Arthur Craven, Edgar Varese, and Americans Morton Schamberg, Walter Pack, John Cowart, Arthur Doe, and most importantly, Man Ray sensationalized the American art scene by their Dada artworks and performances. Alfred Stieglitz's 291 Gallery was a center for their gatherings. Sense of irony and humor were more apparent in New York Dada art than in their European counterpart. They did not have a manifesto but used instead publications such as The Blind Man, Wrong, and New York Dada to criticize the traditional basis of museum art. Duchamp returned to France in 1923. He settled permanently in America in 1942. Dada art varies so widely that it is difficult to identify stylistic features. Dada itself was against a coherent style. Even then, one can find traces of Cubism, Futurism, and Expressionism in it. Dada intentionally tries to shock the audience. It uses ridicule, nonsense, puns, and irony. Mild obscenities occur in some Dada works. The glorification of mass production was an idea of futurists, but it was the Dada artist who exhibited everyday commonplace mass-produced objects as ready-made art. They have introduced the concept of chance, and this was taken up later by Surrealism. Like the synthetic cubists, Dadaists also use paper collage and assemblage. Dada introduced the idea of performance art and process art, but because Dada was against to follow any non-rules, it was against its own manifestos. But it can be seen that automatism was a suggested starting point of a Dada creation. It proposed the notion of a vitality without any preconceived subject. Dada challenged the preconceived notion of an identifiable artistic style. Dada was not confined to the visual art, its influence reached into literature, music, theatre, etc. Dada music composed by Francis Picabia and Ribemont Designs was performed at the festival Dada in Paris 1920. Many Dadaists created phonetic poetry, that is, poems with high-sounding, meaningless rhythms and recited them as performance. One of the first instances of Dada performance art and sound poetry recital happened on the evening of June 23, 1916. Hugo Ball was carried to the stage of the Cabaret Voltaire by some of his friends. He was dressed in a cardboard suit. There, he recited an absurd, high-sounding poem named Caravan. Dadaists were always in the lookout for new creative means to challenge tradition. They challenged the usage of traditional media like oil paintings on canvas. They have experimented with various media like collage, photomontage, assemblage, ready-made, and photography. Synthetic Cubism experimented with the potential of collage medium even before Dada came into being. But Dada usage of the medium was different. For example, Jean Arp tore up colored paper into small squares and allowed them to freely fall into a glued sheet of colored paper, thus creating a collage. This may appear to be an absurd method of creating an artwork, but challenging what art was considered to be was one of the aims of Dada. The act of creation also became important. Now, after a century, we are seeing a resurgence in performance art. The process also intended to be automatic. The artist does not aim for the final result, the process creates the end result. Usage of chance happening was a Dada way of ridiculing reason. The conscious control of reason made the world what it is. The absence of reason opened up a path for subconscious to act. It even negated the authority of the personality of the artist himself. Using collage also included using everyday found objects such as tickets, maps, calendars, candy cars. These experiments broke down the barrier between high and low art. Later movements like pop art took up the idea and extended it. It was also a statement in waste production and its recycling. The work Picture with Spatial Growths or Picture with Two Small Dogs by Kurt Schwitters uses an assemblage of oil, papers, board, fabric, wood, hair, ceramic and metal on board. The collage technique was also used to write poetry. Dadaists used the cut-up technique as a literary technique in which a text is cut up and rearranged to create a new text. Cut-up is performed by taking a finished and fully linear text and cutting in pieces with a few or single words on each piece. The resulting pieces are then rearranged into a new text. This method was later adapted by Surrealism and some contemporary artists. Incorporation of chance into the process of creation, especially the creation of art or media, is known as aleatoricism. The most controversial and famous example of the usage of popular printed media is the work by Marcel Duchamp titled LHOOQ. It was created in 1919. Pencil was used to draw a moustache on a cheap postcard reproduction of Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. The name of the piece was also shocking obscene pun. When it is read aloud in French, it becomes an obscene pun. Duchamp went even further to reinvent himself as Rose Selavi, a pseudo-personality. The name also sounds like a French word which when translated from French to English means a rose. Mandry, one of the great masters of Dadaist art, photographed Duchamp dressed as Rose Selavi. Duchamp titled one of his works done in 1921 as Why Not Sneeze Rose Selavi. This work is now in the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Duchamp termed it to be an assisted ready-made. An assisted ready-made is an object altered by the artist by slightly altering it or assisting its context as an artwork by the addition of other objects. Duchamp himself had made several replicas of this work. Duchamp also used the pseudonym Rose Selavi to sign several of his creations. Another pseudo-personality he invented out himself was Richard Mutt. Richard Mutt appeared chronologically earlier than Rose Selavi. Duchamp used this name to sign one of his most known ready-mades, The Fountain. The original of the work is now lost. The replicas found in museums were commissioned by Duchamp himself after 1960s. The Fountain was a bold statement in the 20th century art. It shows how the spectator alters the meaning of an object by reading its context. The beautifully designed object, created by a team of experts, meticulously created out of durable ceramic, becomes a lowly placed object just because of the function associated with it. Duchamp submitted this ready-made object for the exhibition of the Society of Independent Artists in 1917. it was, of course, got rejected. The fountain was exhibited in Alfred Stieglitz's studio. A learner of art should be careful to study Duchamp's work in relation to Dadaism as a historical movement. While studying Dadaism as a movement, one should analyze its history very closely and its manifestos. Hans Richter, an original member of the Zurich Dada group, describes Duchamp as Neo-Dada. Some historians suggest that Dada as a movement originated, influenced by earlier experiments by people like Alfred Jarry, Guilaine Apollinaire, Jacques Vaucher, Marcel Duchamp, and Francis Picabia. This has become controversial because of its political implication. Neo-Dada is a label applied primarily to audio and visual art that has similarities in method or intent to earlier Dada artwork. The term became popular in the 1960s. Neo-Dada is also used to describe the Fluxus group in Germany. Its members include Joseph Beuys and Jens Klein, John Cage, etc. They too explored media ranging from performance art to poetry to experimental music. Opposed to tradition and professionalism in the arts, the Fluxus group shifted the emphasis from the artwork to artists' personality, actions, and opinions. They staged action events, engaged in political actions, and created installations featuring unconventional found materials. Dadaism was an unconventional movement which changed the course of art history. Its aim was to go beyond the conventions of traditional art and even experimentation in art. Its real worth goes beyond the visual appearance or shock value of the artworks it left behind. To understand the significance of Dadaism, one has to study the course art history has taken after Dadaism. Now, it is time we conclude this session. Till our next session, bye.